in light of all of what we see happening politically now and understanding the process, the real elephant in the room here is the loss of Japheth autonomy and the loss of control of America. And Trump has stepped up to the point where he's willing to do anything, and the people who found themselves losing their autonomy and political strengths in America are willing to let him do anything in order that their autonomy might be maintained. But let me say that I believe in America. I do. I know that a number of Hamite people have negative things to say about this nation, but I believe in America. And I've had the opportunity to travel the world. I've been to Asia, I've been to Europe, I've been to South Africa, I've been to the Caribbean islands, and I've traveled all over America. I believe in this nation. I think she's the grandest nation on the planet. But I can tell you dark times are coming. And I understand why Trump has been supported. It isn't that the Republicans are afraid that Trump himself has some sort of a power. They're afraid of the Trump voters because these Trump MAGA hat wearers, they are fighting for their very existence. They're fighting for their autonomy and their dominance that they once had. You can call it white supremacy, and I don't mean to seem racist or pejorative here at all. God forbid, that's not my intent. Please forgive me if somehow or another that's how it comes out. But I don't mean to seem racist, but I'm just telling you what's going on in America right now. These people find themselves in a civil rights battle to maintain their supremacy. And Trump is at the head of that crowd, and they're sticking with him no matter what, no matter how immoral. I mean, he has even incorporated all the Southern Baptist religious groups because they are also the target of economic a downturn or demographics, economic downturn in demographics. And so they're with him as well. And they're not going to leave him. And they'll vote anybody out who doesn't support Trump and keep him in power. Those senators got to keep him in power. So we're going to see how all this plays out. But finally, before I go, I want you to know I do love this nation. I love America, and I appreciate America. I do. But I want you to know that God named Trump Tribulation Trump. God named him as the trigger of one of the worst calamities that earth has ever seen. Not just America, but total earth. God named him Tribulation Trump. That's what the Lord named him. And I want to let that rest with you for just a while. George Conway was on, the clip I was talking about a few months ago was on Jake Tapper on yesterday, and I want you to take a listen to some of the things he said. I thought it was an extraordinary truth and simplicity, and the simple way in which he places and looks at this, observes this, what's going on with Trump and his support system.
Well, Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, says he doesn't think there should be any witnesses, and he's telling his caucus that he doesn't think that should happen at all.
The Constitution says, Article 1 says that the Senate has the power to try, sole power, and thus the obligation to try all impeachment. It's their obligation to hear the evidence. And if there's evidence that's not in the record already, they should be going out and allowing the subpoena to be issued in the name of the Chief Justice of the United States for that evidence. That's what a trial is. That's what this is supposed to be for. And their job is to hear the evidence, to hear all of it, not some of it or none of it, which seems to be the way they're going.
And what do you make of the fact that the Republicans have opted to take this stand of no new evidence, no new witnesses, at least at this point?
What are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? Are they going to hear evidence that they don't like? They must be afraid of something. And that's the thing that I find most disturbing about it, is they don't want to hear the evidence because they know the truth. They know he's guilty. And they don't want to hear the evidence because they don't want the American people to see it too.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you are a conservative attorney. You have been prominent in Republican legal circles for a long, long time. How do you feel when you see the Republican Party going against these basic rules that you consider to be important?
I'm deeply saddened. It's very upsetting. And this is a moment, I think, of reckoning, not just for the country and for the rule of law and for the Constitution. It's a very specific day of reckoning for the Republican senators who took this oath and the Republican Party generally. Are they going to stand for lies instead of truth? Are they going to stand for gaslighting instead of reality? Are they going to just do the bidding of this one man and put his interests over those of the country? That's what this is about.
But take a listen to what President Trump's defenders are saying, because they are basically saying what President Trump says publicly, which is it was a perfect call. Check the transcript. Here is one of his attorneys.
You've seen the transcripts, which the president released transparently, unprecedentedly. There was no quid pro quo for anything.
Your response?
Just utterly and completely shameless in light of all of the evidence. And the notion that you can assert that the call, as the president has been doing, is as perfect is crazy. And even the one lawyer, the one law professor who defended the House Republicans' position in that before the House Judiciary Committee said this morning in an op-ed in the Washington Post, there's no way you can say that call was perfect, and it wasn't. And what you saw that lawyer just do was just ignoring the evidence, ignoring the call that David Holmes heard in the Kiev restaurant where
between Bill Clinton and Gordon Sondland.
You mean Donald Trump and Gordon Sondland?
I'm sorry, between Donald Trump and Gordon Sondland. Yes, sorry.
And where you could hear, and you can, I can personally attest, you can hear Trump when he's on the phone with somebody sitting next to you.
He's got a big booming voice.
Yes, and he says, "Are they going to do the investigations?" That's all he cared about. And then Holmes asked Sondland, "Well, does the president, care about Ukraine?" And basically, he doesn't give a expletive deleted about Ukraine. Sondland said he only cares about the big things, the things that affect him personally, and that's what this is about. That's what makes this offense, what he did, impeachable. Is he wasn't concerned about the interests of the nation. The interests of the nation were clearly in favor of letting that aid go unrestricted. He did it because it was a pressure point to get these guys in Ukraine to do his bidding to help him get reelected.
You just alluded to the fact that you've heard President Trump on the phone, so let me just acknowledge to our viewers that obviously you are Kellyanne Conway's husband. She is a counselor to President Trump, and you've already said...
I don't think you have to be the spouse of a senior administration official to know that he's loud on the phone. But I'm sure many people in CNN probably know that too.
Well, but yes, of course, I could personally attest that that's true. But I will also just say you've already made it clear that that is not a subject that you want to talk about, so I'm not going to waste...
Not particularly.
I'm not going to waste any
I think my views about President Trump and his administration can stand on their own.
Right. I just want to make clear to our viewers that that's why I'm not asking about it. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer raised the question, and it's actually one, candidly, that I've been thinking about for a while, which is, if the Senate does what we assume the Senate's going to do and acquit President Trump of these charges, what does that mean in terms of the future and politicians asking foreign countries to investigate their rivals? And let me also just say, predicated on the idea that all of President Trump's defenders say that, he really just wanted a legitimate investigation into corruption, there are legitimate questions to ask about the Kushners in China, about Trump Tower properties all over the world. I'm not saying that they've done anything wrong, but there are questions to ask. And a Democratic president, Buttigieg, Warren, Sanders, Biden, whoever, could say, okay, President Xi, you want to play? And what does it mean?
My answer to that is what Gordon Sondland said to Holmes in the restaurant in Kiev. Trump only cares about things that affect him personally. And if this is allowed to pass, if a president is allowed to violate the law, as the GAO found, to withhold money for his own personal political gain, then all bets are off with future presidents. I hope that we never see one like this again, even though I agree with a lot of his policies. But where are the boundaries? The boundaries are gone. The constitutional norm is gone if the Senate doesn't do the right thing here.
I think if you will observe the political dynamics, it doesn't matter whether you're a Trump lover or Trump hater, never Trump or Trump forever. I think you would have to agree that this is of a magnitude that we've never seen here in America, not even during the period of our own Civil War back in the 1800s, the 19th century. I don't think that we've ever seen anything quite like this before. There has really never been a person that is the leader of America who behaves as Trump does, and we've never faced the same kind of issue. You know, the one thing I keep thinking about is that while God did name Tribulation Trump, once this whole matter is brought to light, and I think there's just one more stone to be left to be unturned, left to be turned, and that's Giuliani. And at that point, this nation goes into absolute chaos. So I pray that you're right with Jesus. I pray that you are. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I am he. I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning. And I'm here to serve you with news and information.